Today we come with hearts full of hope and faith burning brightly as we turn to Saint Anthony of Padua, a powerful intercessor and a faithful friend to all who walk through hard trials. He, who lived the gospel through works of love, knows the battles that wear down our souls and the burdens that sometimes feel unbearable. If you believe that prayer can open doors where everything seems shut and that God's grace can transform the impossible, I invite you to stay with us through this moment of faith. Saint Anthony is a balm in the midst of pain, a guide in the darkness, and a sure help when our strength begins to fade. Today we lay before him our anxieties, our illnesses, our worries that steal our peace, our debts and fears, our loneliness and unanswered questions. Where others only see closed walls, he teaches us to trust in the door that heaven opens. That's why I invite you to join in faith and leave this simple prayer in the comments to strengthen hope. Saint Anthony of Padua, open the way and bring me this urgent miracle. Your words may ignite faith in someone's heart who is longing for a sign of hope today. Thank you for being part of this chain of prayer. Your presence is no accident. Together we make this plea stronger. If you're not yet part of this community, subscribe, share this video, and give it a like so it can reach more people searching for comfort and a miracle in their lives. Now, with calm and confidence, let's place our hearts in the hands of Saint Anthony and begin this prayer for what we need most. Saint Anthony of Padua, faithful friend of those who suffer, I come to you today with an open heart and with the certainty that you hear the cries of those who pray with faith. You who live the living gospel in every act of love and mercy, you know how heavy the cross of difficulties can be, how exhausting the battles, and how uncertain the paths that seem to close before us. I come to you, Saint Anthony, with the hope that your intercession will light my steps and lead me to the way out where my eyes see none. I know that God hears your petitions and that your voice, joined with the voices of those of us who believe in the power of prayer, can reach what seems impossible to us. Today I place in your hands my deepest concerns, those that steal my peace and drain my strength. You know the burdens I carry and the tears hidden in my silence. You know the sickness that limits me, the debts that weigh me down, the problems that press on my home, and the loneliness that wounds the heart. Saint Anthony, intercessor of the needy, teach me to hold fast to faith when everything around me seems to crumble. Give me patience to wait for God's timing, strength not to give up in the middle of the test, and hope to believe that even in the darkest night, there is always a light announcing a new dawn. Saint Anthony of Padua, blessed protector of those who seek refuge in faith, I lift this plea to you, trusting in your tenderness and in your power of intercession. You who were chosen by God to be an instrument of miracles and who never turn away those who came to you in trust, look today upon my life and its needs. In your presence, I lay everything that causes fear and anxiety, because I know your closeness brings peace to the weary heart. I give you my daily struggles, the doors that have shut before me, and the opportunities one have lost through discouragement. I ask you to carry my words before the throne of God, and that his mercy may pour out on my life abundantly. Saint Anthony, you who are comfort in pain and guide in confusion, help me keep my eyes fixed on faith even when problems seem to multiply. Steady my steps so I do not wander. Strengthen my hands so they do not grow tired in the fight. Stir up my spirit so that I never lose the courage to go forward. You who saw the power of God's love transform hearts in impossible situations, come to meet me in this hour of need. Let my plea be heard, my burdens lightened, and my life touched by the grace I so deeply hope for. Saint Anthony of Padua, intercessor of the afflicted and comfort of the suffering, once again, I lift my voice to you, knowing your kind heart never grows tired of listening to those who come with faith and trust. You who knew the power of humility and the greatness of self-giving, help me place everything that torments me into God's hands and rest in the certainty of his providence. Today I place myself under your care, asking you to walk with me through every step of difficulty. You know how heavy problems feel, how painful uncertainty is, how exhausting it is to fight without seeing results. That's why I turn to you, Saint Anthony. Strengthen my spirit and grant me the grace not to give up. May my heart, instead of surrendering, learn to trust more each day in God's power. I beg you to stretch out your hand over my material, spiritual, and emotional needs. Light the paths that look closed. Open doors no human can open. Make hope spring up where today there is only doubt and fear. Look also, Saint Anthony, upon my loved ones. Protect them, accompany them in their battles, and cover them with the mantle of your intercession so that in their lives they never lack bread, peace, or true love. You who were called the Saint of Miracles for your closeness to God's heart, show me that even in the darkest moments, faith can transform reality. Teach me to be patient, to wait for the time of grace, and not to despair when answers seem delayed. Grant me the serenity to understand that every process has a purpose and that in every trial God is shaping and preparing me for something greater. Saint Anthony, may your example of faith and charity be my constant guide. Teach me to love as you loved, to serve without expecting a reward, and to keep the flame of prayer alive even in the hardest moments. Let my words be heard in heaven, and let mercy pour down on my life in abundance. Saint Anthony of Padua, bearer of hope and witness of God's mercy, I come once more with a needy soul and a heart full of trust in your powerful intercession. You who never left without comfort those who came to you sincerely, listen also today to this voice crying from the depths of my heart. I bring you the hidden battles I carry inside, the ones many never see, but that wear down the spirit. I give you the sleepless nights, the thoughts that trouble my mind, the burdens that make me feel I cannot go on. You know better than anyone the wounds I keep hidden and the desires beating within me. Saint Anthony, model of surrender and obedience to the Lord, help me not to lose faith when everything seems to collapse. Inspire me to trust more in divine providence than in my own strength, and show me that even in the midst of pain, God is working out a purpose in my life. Intercede for me so that grace touches every area of my existence, that peace may reign in my home, unity blossom in my family, doors of blessing open in my projects, and serenity dwell in my heart. May I walk each day with the certainty that your help surrounds me, and that miracles are possible for those who believe and persevere in prayer. Saint Anthony of Padua, Saint of the Living Word and embodied charity, I bow before you today with a trembling heart and awakened hope. I come with an urgency pressing on my chest and a faith that refuses to give up, knowing that your hands have upheld so many in their trials and that your feet know the hidden paths where God makes a way when everything seems blocked. You who preach the gospel with fire in your voice and tenderness in your gestures, look at me as you looked at those who came to you with empty hands and tear-filled eyes. Hear my cry today when I need a miracle beyond my small strength to restore my peace. I do not ask on my own merit, but because you are a friend to the suffering, a guide to the lost, a comfort to those who can go no further. Come, Saint of near-at-hand impossibilities, and draw close to this shore where my trembling soul awaits the tide of grace. I know, Saint Anthony, your holiness was bread broken for the poor and light for the confused. So I speak to you simply, like to an elder brother. There are doors that will not open, knots that will not loosen, silences that bite the soul, nights that will not end. I have tried knocking, pressing on, doing my part, and still the horizon sometimes drifts away like a mirage. Teach me, good saint, to knock as faith knocks, trusting, to persist as the humble persist, hoping in God, to plead as a mother pleads for her child or a father for his home. Take my fears and breathe over them like one breathes on hidden embers until trust and joy glow again. Give me back the certainty that I do not walk alone, that heaven is not a locked window, but a home with the door ajar where a father waits and you intercede with the child in your arms. Today, I contemplate you, Saint Anthony, holding the divine child, and I learn in that image the secret I need to remember. Miracles are born in the arms of those who surrender. The child trusts, rests, smiles. That's how I want to let myself be carried by God's mercy through your loving intercession. Please receive all I hold in my heart. Unfinished tasks, multiplying worries, the faces I love and long to protect, the wounds that still ache, the guilt seeking forgiveness, and the fears that steal my sleep. Look also at my good desires, to serve better, to work honestly, to heal what's broken, to reconcile what's torn, to spark hope where others see only ashes. I lay everything bare under your clear gaze and timely word. Knowing your voice is a bridge between my smallness and the greatness of God's love. You who were called thaumaturgus because wonders followed your preaching, do not let me drown in this storm. If the door I'm seeking is not the one I need, guide me gently to the right one. If the answer I ask is not the answer I need, translate my plea into the language of God's will. If my impatience blinds me, grant me the meekness that waits with trust and acts with perseverance. But if it is the will of the Most High to grant this urgent miracle I long for, hasten your steps, I beg you. Bend with compassion over my life and let the spark of the impossible made possible shine within it. You know, beloved Saint Anthony, how it still aches in the heart of one who groans. Intercede so that the yes may come that frees, heals, opens, restores, and brings peace. Let me see God's signature in my story, and teach me not to mistake his silence for abandonment, nor his delay for forgetfulness. Saint Anthony, protector of those who have lost something precious, you who help find what is lost, guide me in my searches. I have lost strength and want to find it again. I have misplaced my peace and long to recover it. I have dropped my trust and want to lift it up. I have watched opportunities, relationships, and paths slip through my fingers. Take me by the hand to where my soul needs to return. If I must find the courage to adjust my choices, lead me there. If I must find the word that reconciles, place it in my mouth. If I must recover the joy of giving thanks for small things, awaken it in me. Give me back through your prayer what fear has stolen and what grace longs to restore. Let me not get lost in sterile guilt or stand frozen before challenges. Remind me that the God of the impossible walks with me, and that your prayers open clear paths under my feet. I look at your lilies, sign of purity and surrender, and I understand that holiness blooms where the heart is true. That is why, before asking, I confess my shadows with humility. Perhaps I was harsh when I should have been kind. Perhaps I stayed silent when I should have spoken, or spoke without charity when silence would have been better. Sometimes I lacked patience with those I love. Other times I lack courage to defend what is right. I hand you these stumbling stones, so that through your intercession the Lord may give me a simple heart able to love without measure, serve without calculation, and believe without demanding signs. From that renewed heart, I again ask with trust for this urgent miracle. Not because I deserve it, but because God is good and you, Saint Anthony, are his faithful servant who never abandons those who cry out. Teach me the wisdom of hope, not a naive hope that denies pain, but the Christian hope that looks pain in the eye and offers it up, the hope that knows a prune tree will bear new fruit, the hope that waits for the new moon because it has passed through the night. When the news is bad, steady my spirit. When progress is slow, temper my heart. When exhaustion urges me to give up, remind me that perseverance is the daily name of miracles. Show me how heaven opens to those who keep knocking, not with anxiety, but with the gentle persistence of love. Touch me with your meekness that calms storms and orders my thoughts, so that panic does not rule me, but faith does. Bring, I beg you, the balm for the wounds no one sees. There are worries I do not share out of shame, tears I do not shed to spare my loved ones, fears I hide behind smile. You know those hidden corners of the soul where we store what weighs most. Today, I invite you to come in with the light of the child you hold, and let his gaze transform my shadows into pathways. If sickness is the trial, open, through your prayer, a door to healing. If my home is shaken, grant us the grace of forgiveness and humility. If debts are tightening around us, bring provision and wise counsel. If loneliness bites hard, draw near the right companions and a community that holds me up. Through your intercession, let help arrive in time. Let the right word be spoken. Let the timely gesture be made. Let the exact opportunity appear. And while I wait, put my hands to work. Don't let urgency make me blind to the small fidelities that build miracles. A tender act, a phone call, a task done with love, a freeing renunciation, a prayer shared. Give me grace to give even when I feel empty, to rise when my body asks for bed, to smile when my eyes are clouded. By your example, make me a witness to a faith that doesn't get stuck in complaint but acts and trusts. Then, when the miracle comes, and it will in the perfect way God chooses, may my heart be awake to recognize it, grateful to celebrate it, and generous to share it. Saint Anthony, friend of seekers and lighthouse for the lost, hold my faith like a candle in the wind. Let not be snuffed out by the gusts of fear or the downpour of doubt. If I waver, remind me how the Lord clothes the lilies and feeds the birds. If I stumble, stretch out your hand and set me on my feet. If I faint, whisper within me that victory begins the moment I believe again. Open my ears to the saving word, my eyes to the signs of providence, my lips to the gratitude that opens the heavens. And when good news reaches my door, teach me not to clutch it as my own, but to receive it as a gift, a kiss from God granted through your prayer, a caress from heaven calling me to live with more love, more justice, more surrender. Today, I lay this plea at your feet with the calm of one who knows he has been heard. Do not leave me, Saint Anthony, until the will of God is fulfilled in this burden I carry in my soul. If it should be soon, let be soon. If it must ripen with time, sustain me while I wait. If it must become a greater grace I don't yet understand, open my mind to embrace it. I place everything with you, in the embrace of the child Jesus resting in your arms, under the Father's watchful gaze and the Spirit's renewing breath. And meanwhile, make me an instrument of peace. Where there is anger, let me sow patience. Where there is discouragement, let me bring comfort. Where there is darkness, let me set a lamp ablaze. Thank you, Saint Anthony of Padua, for hearing me with love, for your quiet presence that levels the path and teaches me to keep my eyes on heaven without neglecting the work at hand. May my life bear witness to the mercy I beg for today, and may the joy of fulfilled promises make me humbler, kinder, and more brotherly. Receive this heart that beats in a hurry and warm it in the nearness of the child who smiles at you. Take these restless hands and steady them with the assurance that no prayer is wasted, no tear is ignored, no night lacks a dawn, and that through your intercession the urgent miracle I present before God will bloom like a lily in spring, to the praise of the Most High and the good of those I love. Saint Anthony of Padua, navigator in storms and singer of mercy, I come to you with my pulse racing and my eyes fixed on the horizon of God. I know you are not indifferent to the urgency that burns within me. You do not pass by the one who pleads with heart in hand. I have seen you in the memory of the church and the testimonies of the humble, lifting those who had fallen, straightening paths, mending what seemed beyond repair. Seeking refuge, I shelter under your mantle as a faithful intercessor. If my words are weak, strengthen my voice. If my hope trembles, be the staff that supports me. If my faith runs dry by day's end, kindle it with the flame of your love. For the sake of the gospel, I ask you for an urgent miracle, not out of whim or vanity, but because a real need is knocking at the door and threatening our peace. Look, good saint, the wound I show you is concrete. It hurts, steals my sleep, and clouds my judgment. Name it before the Most High and lift it up in your arms as one lifts a child, so that from a higher view I can see the way out I could not discern. They call you evangelical doctor. Your wisdom was never hoarded treasure, but a river overflowing to water deserts. Teach me to listen to God with the same wonder you had, so his word, gives me discernment when fear screams and discouragement tries to rule. Let every verse be solid ground beneath my feet. Ask, and it will be given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened. I ask, I seek, I knock. At the door where you, Saint Anthony, so often intercede with gentleness and courage. If the enemy whispers that perseverance is useless, remind me that steadfastness bears fruit in God's time. If haste pushes me toward mistakes, show me the art of waiting while working and working while waiting. If I grow weary, lead me to the springs of grace, quiet prayer, discreet service, the whispered trust that rises in the kitchen, on the bus, at work. Let my plea not be a single intense moment, but a steady thread woven with small acts that together prepare the ground for a miracle. You embraced poverty and thus recognized the hidden riches of the poor in spirit. Visit my inner house today. Look through the dim rooms and light lamps where pride has shut the windows. Perhaps my prayer hasn't been heard because my heart was bolted. Perhaps God awaits a forgiveness I've postponed, a repair I've delayed, a generous gesture I've held back for later. Bring me the clarity to discover what I must surrender so grace can flow without obstacles. If I need reconciliation, give me courage. If I must ask forgiveness, give me humility. If I must let go of an old resentment, grant me the sweetness of Jesus you preached with such fire. I don't want this miracle to be a last-minute trick, but the fruit of an inner healing, a real conversion, a joyful obedience. Then, when the answer comes, I won't claim it as mine. I'll recognize it as a gift and put it in circulation for the good of others. I look at your hands, Saint Anthony, and I see two stories. Hands that lift up and hands that offer. They lift the fallen because you know no one rises alone. And they offer the Christ child because you know there is no greater gift than presenting him. Lift me where I have fallen, from the fatigue that makes me harsh, from the complaint that steals my gratitude, from the distrust that hardens my face. And offer me the child, so that his heaven-lit gaze can reorder my values. Let me say, even before everything is resolved, blessed are you, Lord, for you are with me. And from that new confidence, I place again my concrete need before you. Open the work opportunity that would bring relief to my home. Grant a just resolution to this case that keeps us awake. Send the timely diagnosis and the right treatment. Provide the exact resources to clear the debt that tightens. Bring peace to the relationship stretched to the breaking point. I don't come to dictate terms. I come to ask for a way. And if the path I'm asking for isn't the straightest, show me the true one, even if it means a brief detour for my growth. They say your preaching smelled like fresh-baked bread because it nourished and comforted. By your prayer, give me that bread of courage that neither flatters nor deceives. When the day is long and heavy, put a thank you in my mouth that gives my heart new air. When a process stalls, give me the patience to remember that human timing doesn't always match the divine. When someone is difficult, grant me the grace to see them with God's eyes. And while the miracle is on its way, let small signs keep me steady, a word that gives light, an unexpected kindness, a restorative rest, a side door that opens so I can move a little further. Teach me to collect those crumbs of providence as one saves love letters, to read again on dark hours, and remember that heaven is at work even when I can't see it. I beg a particular blessing over my own. You who walked with so many families through counsel and prayer, draw near to mine with quick steps. Embrace those who share my roof. Strengthen those far away who still sustain me with their love. Visit those whose faith has gone cold and plant in them the desire to come home to the Father. Let bread never be lacking at our table, nor peace in our conversations, nor tenderness in our gestures, nor the good humor that takes the drama out of tensions. Protect the most fragile, the sick who long for relief, the elderly who need company, the child who requires patience, the young one looking for their place. And when the miracle is granted, let us celebrate together with simple joy, remembering that every victory is a bridge toward loving more and loving better. You are also patron of those who seek what's lost. Along the way, I've lost my calm, my soul's serenade, my bright mornings. Help me find my inner song again, the melody that rises when I trust. Perhaps I've lost discipline in prayer. Remind me that talking with God isn't protocol. It's the breath of the Spirit. At times I've lost confidence in myself. Teach me to see it as God sees it, not trimmed down by fear. I've let noble dreams slip because disappointment visited too often. Give me dreams with roots, goals with habits, desires with plans. And if I must release one dream to embrace a truer one, let your counsel walk with me, so I do it without bitterness, with inner freedom, certain that the Father never takes without giving better. Saint Anthony, I long to learn from you the balance of tenderness and firmness. I don't want a sugar-sweet faith that melts in the first heat, nor a rigid spirit that wounds. I want the meekness that says yes to grace and no to what blocks it, the charity that caresses and corrects, the obedience that is free because it loves. Give me a tempered tongue that blesses, not curses, that encourages, not crushes, that builds, not divides. Give me watchful eyes to recognize my neighbor's need and the signs of the kingdom in the everyday. Give me feet ready to walk the extra mile, to go after the one left behind, to draw near to the one who stayed silent, hoping someone would notice their pain. And in all this, keep holding up my urgent petition, because you know the clock of need doesn't always understand long processes. Intercede so that, without skipping the learning, help arrives in time for what I beg today. Touch, if necessary, the hearts and wills involved. You who saw crowds transformed by the warmth of the word, move what I cannot move. Soften the one who must forgive. Awaken the one who must act. Enlighten the one who must diagnose. Encourage the one who must support. Let timelines align. Let the documents be found. Let answers arrive clearly. Let doors open without unfair stumbling blocks. If there are traps, bring them to light. If there are misunderstandings, clear them up. If there are needless delays, shorten them. If hidden dangers lurk, reveal them before they harm. And over everything, let truth reign. You loved truth without compromise. Let truth be the compass here, so the miracle is not only relief but also justice and peace. Beloved saint, do not let my plea become an obsession that steals the present. Teach me to live each hour well, to savor the good that already is while I await what is missing. Don't let me lock myself in the waiting room of anxiety. Lead me out to the terrace of gratitude. Today I give thanks for what has already been. Quiet rescues that kept me from falling, friendships that held me up, opportunities born of setbacks, lessons that grew out of mistakes, comforts that arrived in endless nights. I even thank you for the need that now hurts, because it brought me to your feet and reminded me I'm not self-sufficient, that I need the communion of saints, that I need your intercession, that I need the child resting trustfully in your arms. And while my voice grows still, let your intercession speak. Please place my petitions in the heart of God like fresh flowers before the beloved, carefully, reverently, with the joy of knowing they will be welcomed. If I've asked poorly, translate it into the language of grace. If I miss something, add it according to heaven's wisdom. If something must be withdrawn, remove it gently and replace it with what best serves my salvation and that of my own. I consecrate this cause to the divine will and beg you to stay with me until I see light at the end of the tunnel. Let me not give up, grow bitter, or close my heart. Let me learn, trust, and love. And when the miracle blooms, let me say with tears of joy, thank you, Lord, for the hand of Saint Anthony. Thank you, Saint Anthony, for leading me to the hand of the Lord. Saint Anthony of Padua, teacher of nearness and witness to love made bread, I come with a soul on its knees and a face lifted to heaven, because I know that in your intercession, mercy finds pathways and hope becomes practical. You spoke to hearts with clarity and comfort. Look upon the day I hold in my hands. I have lived it with effort, yet there are doors that won't yield, answers that don't arrive, weariness that sits at my table uninvited. So I set beside your lilies all I cannot control, and all I can still improve. I hand you what weighs me down, and I hand you myself and my smallness, trusting that the God who made you his instrument will make my fragility a place of miracles. I don't ask for dazzling signs or shortcuts that erase what I must learn. I ask humbly that you draw near to my story the precise grace, the timely help, the wise counsel, the brave decision, and the peace that comes when we know we are in the Father's hands. I've heard, and people tell it with tenderness, that once you preached to the fish and they gathered like attentive brothers. If even the creatures of the water recognized the gospel's voice in your mouth, how could my inner tides not be calmed when you pray for me? Bless my waters, Saint Anthony. Quiet the waves of anxiety. Straighten the currents of my impulses. Clean the shores where resentment piles up. Let my boat, battered by contrary winds, find in your prayer a lighthouse, a harbor, a pilot. If I must row back out into deep water, give me perseverance that does not keep score. If I must cast the nets again though the night has been fruitless, give me the spirit of those who trust. If I must moor and wait for a window of fair weather, teach me not to confuse patience with passivity or prudence with fear. They say you were a seeker of what was lost, not only keys and papers, but souls who thought they could never return. I've lost my calm at times and my sense of perspective. I've lost my gentleness when fatigue got the better of me. I've let go of the habit of starting the day with a blessing. I've forgotten how to be tender with myself and judged my heart too harshly. I've misplaced the wonder that is half of faith. Teach me where to find these treasures again, in a prayer as I wake, in a glass of water received with gratitude, in an honest conversation, in a timely "I'm sorry," in a thank you that softens what's rough. And along with these small restorations, I dare to ask for the great recovery I seek today. Let the file that urgently needs to open be opened. Let a clear and just medical answer arrive. Unblock the stalled process. Bring a clean and steady opportunity to sustain my home. Heal the relationship pride is cracked. Let what was lost return, not by accident, but as a sign, so that when I see it, my heart remembers there is no locked door for the faithfulness of God. I come with beloved names on my lips and place them in your quiet prayer. You know their stories. The mother who keeps watch and won't give up. The father who works to bring bread and peace. The young person searching for a place to belong. The elder who fears becoming a burden. The sick one clinging to hope. The child who keeps asking why. Circle them with your intercession like a ring of blessing around your own. If anyone walks in shadow, send a ray of meaning. If anyone is fainting, send a companion for the road. If anyone stands on the edge of a poor decision, send clarity. If anyone doesn't know how to ask for help, send an embrace that does not judge. And especially over those who have power to decide in this situation. Doctors, judges, employers, officials, key people, breathe the influence of integrity, so truth prevails without wounding and justice arrives without delay. I look at you holding the child, and in that holy image lies everything I need: nearness, trust, tenderness, and obedience. Teach me to obey love without resentment, to trust without being naive, to be tender without losing firmness, to draw near without overstepping. I want this urgent request to rise from a heart in tune. If I must apologize, let me do it soon. If I must make amends, let me do it with joy. If I must release a shortcut, let me let it go without regret. If I must be faithful in small things, let me be steady like the drop that wears the stone. May this prayer not be an isolated shout, but the music of a life tuned to the gospel's pitch. Then, when the miracle comes, and I believe it will in God's exact and surprising way, I won't call it luck or strategy, but mercy. I won't keep it to myself. I will share it. I won't use it for vanity. I will turn it into service. You love the beauty of simple things, bread broken, a shared table, a timely word. Enroll me in that school today. Give me grace to set my inner house in order, to clean my thoughts, let my emotions breathe, sweep out the corner where resentment hides, straighten my priorities, and set fresh flowers on the table of hope. And if receiving what I ask requires making space, here I am. I release the control that makes me sick, the haste that blinds me, the fear of what others will say, the need to always be right. I open room in my life so heaven can sit down without stumbling. Let the miracle not find me with hands full of empty things, but free, grateful, and available. Bring, Saint Anthony, a spark to rekindle what's about to go out. The love cooled by routine, the joy dimmed by endless news, the strength drained by fruitless worry. Touch the relationship that needs a new beginning. Touch the project that needs a relaunch. Touch the body that requires rest and care. Touch the spirit that cries for an anointing of peace. And let that peace not be passivity, but a steady strength. Decisions made calmly, courage carried with prudence, generosity held by healthy boundaries. May my yes to life be whole, and my no to what harms me be firm. Teach me to say enough when burnout becomes the norm, and forward when fear would paralyze what is good. There are invisible battles only heaven sees, thoughts that turn into mazes, memories that bite before dawn, old guilts returning dressed as impossible demands. Step into that inner sanctuary where I find the truth about myself. With your light, show me what is temptation and what is responsibility, what I must confess and what I must heal, what calls for asking help and what calls for fruitful silence. Keep me from self-deception and from perfectionism's cruelty. Holding your hand, let me say, I am small, yet loved, fragile, yet called, wounded, yet on my way. And from there, standing, I ask that the urgent miracle I present arrive with the seal of goodness, with the rhythm of providence, with the precision only God has to touch the exact point where everything changes. If there are dark ties around this situation, misunderstandings, envy, injustice, twisted words, please break whatever doesn't come from the light. I don't ask harm for anyone. I ask freedom for everyone. Purify intentions, untangle confusion, disarm the traps, bring into view what was hidden so no one stumbles. Walk, faithful servant, through the corridors of the offices and waiting rooms where my case is written. Accompany the clicks and e-signatures. Guide the hands that complete the reports. Lighten the arms that carry boxes of documents. Let everything move with clean flow, like water finally finding its bed. Meanwhile, and this meanwhile is holy, make me generous. I don't want to live with clenched fists. I want open hands to bless, to share, to help, to hold. If someone needs a word today, put it in my mouth. If someone needs a gesture, move it through my fingers. If someone needs a bit of company, stretch my time. In the waiting, make me more human, not harsher, more attentive, not distracted, more grateful, not demanding. I've seen, and you know it, that miracles recognize quickly the door of those who love. Keep me, finally, in the humility of those who know everything is gift. If what I beg for arrives tomorrow, don't let me forget to come back and give thanks, to leave an offering of goodness, to bear witness without boasting. If it doesn't arrive yet, don't let me sink into bitterness. Let me renew my trust and organize my way more wisely. If what comes is different than I expected, give me a wide heart to recognize that God does not fail when He changes the script. And if the miracle brings new responsibilities, let me carry them with joy and care, because grace always calls us to greater love. Saint Anthony of Padua, faithful friend who does not abandon, receive this plea like a cherished letter, carefully, lovingly, and with remembrance. Carry it to that hidden place where mercy leans toward the little ones. Defend it from doubt. Walk with it in your blessing. Present it with your lilies. And when heaven answers, let my life answer too, with more truth, more justice, and more tenderness. In the name of the Father who provides, the Son who saves, and the Holy Spirit who comforts. Amen.